Welcome to the 2013 Stormwater Pollution Prevention Training video, fulfilling the requirements for this year's annual Stormwater Awareness Training, focusing on illicit discharge detection and elimination. In this presentation, we are going to learn about the county's illicit discharge and illicit connection elimination program. It will provide a general background on stormwater, water quality, and impacts of illicit discharges, review key terms, review the regulatory background, provide examples of illicit discharges, and review response and record-keeping procedures for illicit discharges. Stormwater and urban runoff pollution directly affects the quality of creeks, rivers, beaches, and the ocean. Clean rivers and beaches are important natural resources for agriculture, recreation, tourism, and fishing industries, and support aquatic and marine ecosystems. Many county storm drain outfalls discharge to creeks and rivers that eventually drain to the ocean. Rainfall flows downhill through urban areas into gutters and catch basins, where it enters pipes or channels and eventually into creeks, rivers, and the ocean. Stormwater flows that enter the storm drain system from buildings, lawns, parking lots, and roads include rainfall runoff and other non-stormwater discharges, like irrigation water. Along the way, runoff can pick up any pollution that it runs across. The storm drainage system delivers the water and all other materials it picked up along the way to our coastal areas. Some of these materials, like pet waste, can contaminate the beaches and close them to recreation. Next is a short video on illicit discharge detection in the field.
As a government agency employee, you spend a good portion of your time in the field. This puts you in a unique position to help prevent local water pollution. You may not be aware of this, but all local government agencies, including the one you work for, have established some form of law that prohibits dumping of anything but clean water into our waters and our storm drain systems. We're asking you for help in protecting our waters, the same waters that you like to fish in and swim in, by spotting possible illegal discharges. This training will give you the skills to spot and report potential water pollution to the proper department within your agency. For the better part of the 20th century, manufacturing companies simply dumped harmful chemicals into nearby rivers, lakes, or the ocean. Water pollution grew to be so serious that many of the country's lakes and rivers could no longer support aquatic life. By the early 90s, state and federal governments had cleaned up most of the obvious water pollution sources, such as sewage and industrial plants. Yet water pollution remains a problem. Now, the single major source of pollution to our rivers, lakes, and the bay is what we call stormwater pollution. Stormwater is simply rainwater after it hits the ground. On its way down the street to the storm drain, rainwater picks up lawn pesticides and fertilizer, dirt and construction debris, tire rubber and motor oil off the street, grass clippings, as well as fecal matter from birds, cats, and dogs. This water then goes into the storm drain system, and since storm drains are not connected to a treatment plant, all that pollution ends up in our ponds, creeks, and eventually the bay, where we like to fish and swim with our families on the weekend. While some of this pollution can't be prevented because it happens naturally, dumping pollutants into the storm drain and waterways has been made illegal to try to protect our waters. Dumping pollutants into the street, storm drain, or waterway is called an illegal discharge. Simply put, only clean water can go down the street or into a storm drain, ditch, pond, or any other waterway. There are some exceptions, like flows from firefighting, residential car washing, and lawn watering, but in general, only rain goes down the storm drain. Fines for illegal discharges can range up to $10,000 per day. This is where you come in. We all have a duty to protect our waters from polluters, and we need you to be our eyes to reduce stormwater pollution. Identifying illegal discharges is not always simple. Here are a couple of typical illegal discharge examples that you might encounter in the field. Dumping dog waste in the storm drain spreads fecal matter into our waters. Residents dumping or blowing grass clippings and leaves into the storm drain can cause algae blooms, which can kill fish due to lack of oxygen. Washing machines illegally piped into the creek spill soap and harsh chemicals. Restaurants hosing down mats full of grease into the parking lot storm drain. Commercial or industrial sites with leaky drums or dumpsters near a ditch or pond. A homeowner dumping out his oil pan into the storm drain after doing an oil change on his car, or even just a car or truck leaking fluids onto the road. A company pressure washing a building with bleach. Chemicals, oil, and auto fluids in the road wash into the storm drain and kill fish and other aquatic life. Here's another example. The construction site down the street is having some concrete delivered. Watch. After the concrete is poured on the site, Joe washes out his concrete mixer into the street. From there, it enters the storm drain and the stream where it could kill fish and aquatic animals. The concrete will also harden in the storm drain, causing a blockage, and may flood the street during the next rainstorm. If not properly contained, dirt and debris from construction sites can make their way into the storm drain and pollute our waters. Dirt is a natural part of our environment, but too much of it going into a stream can kill fish and cause flooding. Most construction sites are required to install special fences and storm drain covers that prevent dirt and debris from getting into the storm drain and to local waters. Other things you might see in the roadway from construction sites are mortar or tile cutting dust from home improvement projects, or paint contractors washing their equipment into the street. Many activities like construction, landscaping, pool maintenance, power washing, and vehicle and equipment washing all have the potential to pollute our waters. All of these businesses should become familiar with local ordinances that prevent discharges to the storm drain system. So where should you be looking for these problems? Stormwater pollution can occur in the street, storm drains, storm drain system, ponds, ditches, canals, or lakes. What are some of the things you should be looking for? In the road, look for stains or traces of dumping or leaking fluids or dirt or debris. In ditches and ponds, look for oily, foamy, or odd-colored water. Also, is the grass or other vegetation along the ditch or pond dead? Sometimes dead vegetation is caused by illegal herbicide application, but sometimes it's brought about by pollutants. Is there an unusual smell, maybe a chemical smell, which you would not normally associate with water? Is there a suspicious hose or pipe leading to the drainage ditch? If you find dead fish, they may or may not be evidence of an illegal discharge. But if you find other dead animals, such as frogs or turtles, small mammals or birds, you have a strong indication that a toxic discharge may have occurred. Never touch or try to collect any water samples, dead plants, or animals. In fact, don't take any personal risks. Instead, report what you found immediately.
In the next section, we will define key terms frequently used to identify illicit discharges in stormwater. While the video referred to illegal discharges, these are essentially the same as an illicit discharge. The following slides will provide a more detailed description for each of these terms: storm drainage system, stormwater, non-stormwater discharges, illicit discharges, and illicit connections. The storm drainage system starts in the streets and directs flows along the curb and gutter, perhaps into a catch basin or drop inlet, then into an underground pipe or an above-ground channel, which eventually discharges directly into the creek, river, or the ocean. Stormwater comes from precipitation, mainly rain, but in the mountains it may include snowmelt. Illicit discharges are non-stormwater discharges that are prohibited from entering the storm drain and downstream receiving waters. Some non-stormwater discharges are permitted by specific National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permits, such as agricultural irrigation runoff, which is subject to a separate NPDES permit. Conditionally allowed non-stormwater discharges are flows from urban areas that are allowed under the existing NPDES permit. These include naturally rising groundwater or springs, dechlorinated or debrominated pool water, air conditioning condensate, residential car washing, gravity flows from foundations, footings, and crawl spaces, landscape irrigation runoff, and other discharges covered by separate NPDES permits. Illicit connections are the pipes that carry the illicit discharge and were installed without authorization or permits and through which illicit discharges occur. Why we are concerned. The Ventura County Municipal Separate Storm Sewer System, or MS4, National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System, or NPDES permit, was reissued by the Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Control Board in 2009. It is an NPDES permit issued under the authority of the Clean Water Act and spells out actions the county and cities within the county must take to protect stormwater quality. It established requirements for allowed and prohibited discharges to the storm drain system and requires pollution to be minimized from county-owned facilities and activities. The goal of the NPDES permit is to protect beneficial uses, which include protecting beaches from bacteria-related closures from contaminated runoff. There are several sources of bacteria in stormwater or at beaches, which will be detailed in the next few slides. These include sanitary sewer overflows, dry weather and irrigation flows, and marinas. A sanitary sewer overflow is any spill, release, or discharge of untreated wastewater from a sanitary sewer system. Sewer overflows contain bacteria from human waste. The impacts of sewer overflows can be mitigated by cleanup responses when they occur. Cleaning up minimizes the amount of waste and bacteria flowing into the storm drain system. Dry weather or irrigation flows may appear harmless but can contain bacteria from different sources throughout the watershed. Dry weather flows in particular pick up bacteria sources from pet waste such as dog poop, waste from feral animals, or livestock like horses and cattle, or human sources including the homeless and wildlife. Marinas can be another potential source of bacteria when proper pump-out facilities are not used. Trash and sediment are also pollutants that you can visually observe, and trash is currently in the spotlight with major efforts underway to reduce and eliminate trash from our waterways. Other pollutants like metals and pesticides are also a problem that the county addresses with its stormwater program. Some pollutants are subject to total maximum daily load, or TMDL, requirements that target specific pollutants to protect beneficial uses. These include trash, metals, sediment, and pesticides TMDLs. Ventura County's illicit discharge program. The countywide stormwater quality management program fulfills the NPDES permit requirements. In addition to illicit discharge enforcement, the program includes public education and outreach to inform residents about pollution prevention. Perhaps you have seen some of the Ventura County Clean Watershed ads on TV or heard them on the radio. One will be shown at the end of this presentation. This is part of the education program. The county has the legal authority to prohibit illicit discharges and remove illicit connections. The Los Angeles Regional Water Quality Control Board can take enforcement actions against private parties or the county for failure to implement or comply with NPDES requirements. County staff are trained to recognize and report illicit discharges and connections through required training such as this one. Illicit discharges may be reported to you, or you may discover them during your work for the county. Steps to respond to an illicit discharge include containing the discharge when possible, reporting discharges in unincorporated county areas to the stormwater hotline at 805-650-4064, or in the case of an emergency or a hazardous materials spill, please call 911. Photograph and report sources of the discharge and try and get a license plate number if possible. For discharges within city boundaries, report them to the applicable stormwater program for that city. The permit requires that specific steps be taken when responding to and investigating illicit discharges and connections. For illicit discharges, the permit requires a response within 1 business day. In most cases, you will want to respond as soon as possible, especially for discharges from county facilities or activities. An investigation should be conducted to determine the source of the illicit discharge and eliminate future discharges. Documentation or record keeping is an essential part of the program. Information must be documented on an ongoing basis throughout the entire incident to provide for an accurate and defensible investigation. The documentation should identify all actions taken and information obtained as a result of the response and investigation. This is an example of Ventura County's illicit discharge report form. It contains fields for documenting all details of an illicit discharge incident, including general information, the source and type of the material, and the enforcement actions taken. The permit requirements for investigation of illicit connections are similar, but the response time frame is different. An investigation must be completed within 21 days, and confirmed illicit connections must be eliminated within 180 days. The investigation and details of resolution should always be documented. This is an example of Ventura County's illicit connection inspection report form. Like the illicit discharge form, it contains fields for documenting the essential details of an illicit connection. Training review. In this training, we defined the key terms, discussed that we are concerned about illicit discharges because of the rules, and also because they harm our water quality, explained the link between stormwater and water quality of creeks, rivers, and the ocean, provided examples of illicit discharges and how to spot them, and discussed steps for responding to and eliminating illicit discharges and connections.
Ventura County's Community for a Clean Watershed presents 30 seconds of beauty. Think of this beauty when you hear the word watershed. Watersheds are at the heart of a beautiful, healthy Ventura County. Be aware of what you may unknowingly add to the watershed, the harm it can do, and how you can prevent it from happening. Remember, the watershed should only shed water. cleanwatershed.org.
That concludes this presentation. For any questions, please call 805-650-4664. Thank you for your time.